Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode 143 today for the Singapore Grand Prix in Season 8. If you guys did miss the previous one at the Italian Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. A rather surprising set of results at Italy, you know, looking at the track record at Monza on the F1 2020 game. Yeah, I would say quite surprising, and a sterling effort by our teammate Mick Schumacher, and in the end of it, we actually somehow came out on top in terms of the standings, because we've now got a bit of a cushion, you know, a bit of a lead. Obviously, others had a difficult race. Russell especially got caught up in that traffic massively, and so it means he's gone from looking so strong in the championship to down to second place, gap to me, and the likes of Lando, Schumacher have caught up. Ocon now is a little bit, you know, out of things compared to the other three, because he also had a poor race, you know. He kind of looked strong initially, but then fell away. Lando managed to actually fight his way back up into, I think it was P5 in the end, wasn't it? So, you know, a stronger race for those guys. But it means that, again, the pendulum is swung. And I said this in the last episode. I think it's honestly going to be, you know, massive swings of who's in the lead of the championship, maybe, right till the end, which is going to keep things so interesting, because you just can't call who's going to get that final pendulum swing into Brazil, Sao Paulo, for the final championship fight of the entire series, let alone this season we're in at the moment. But before we get into qualifying then for what is going to be a very difficult, always is, Singapore Grand Prix, always a very hectic one as well, street circuit, always the chance of safety cars, and as I alluded to just earlier, this is going to be a hectic one. Chaos always seems to ensue here around Singapore, and you can see we've actually got some rain there in Q1, so this track's already chaotic anyway in the dry. There's already usually safety cars anyway, but with some rain involved, yeah, so interesting. You'll notice as we look through the camera shots here, although it's raining, everyone is on soft compounded tyres, so it doesn't seem to be wet enough anymore for the Inters. It maybe was raining before Q1 and is now stopping as we enter it, so we've gone out on slick tyres, but I'm kind of a little bit skeptical at the moment. Understeering plainly off circuit and actually getting on the power, and just a little tap of the throttle, and we spin around, narrowly missed the wall, thank God, and also Verstappen there, it nearly maybe drives into us. Thankfully he sees us and slows down. I actually got lucky. I could have easily smashed that grey wall like we did at Hungary, and that could have been our qualifying over. Thankfully not, so got very lucky there. At the end of the Q1 session, we go again on the same set of tyres, and now it's fully stopped raining. The track's a bit green, i.e. obviously the rubber's kind of washed away with the water, but it's not damp now, so it was a little bit too early for me personally. Obviously the AI, their computers, they're pin perfect, so they were out doing their thing on slick tyres, but I definitely needed to wait to the end of this session to finally get an okay lap time in to just make it through into Q2. So crisis averted, disaster put on pause there in Q1, and we're through into the next part of qualifying. Schumacher looking strong, Leclerc, Ocon up there. We'll see how it goes. This can be an interesting one because it's a very different circuit to Italy, so I don't expect Russell and Alfa Romeo to be as strong as they were around Belgium and Italy, but they'll still be there because Russell's just been doing a great job as an AI. But I really, my little pick here is I'm going to pick Lando and Red Bull to be looking really strong. So let's see how they do into Q3, but I reckon they should be good. Obviously in real life it's a very Red Bull circuit, and even in the game it kind of technically should translate. So let's see about that. I think they'll be pretty strong, and you can see actually I'm pretty correct here because we had a bit of a understeering time in Q2. We will make it through, but look at that, Sainz and Lando through, and Sainz consistently has been knocked out in Q2, let alone in Q1 sometimes, and both Red Bulls are through, and he's in the top 3. So I think my analysis is correct. Red Bull will be looking strong, and they may be the ones that we're really fighting for the top spots here. And I guess we're about to find out as we cross the line, and we're P3, and Carlos Sainz is on provisional pole right now ahead of Leclerc. Our first run, I thought pretty decent. We're still P3 at the end of the session, 30 seconds to go, and we're still there on the second row. Norris is now in P4. Don't know where Schumacher is. Hopefully he can improve for the sake of the team. Ocon nowhere in the top 5, so McLaren having another really dismal Saturday, and not what Ocon needs for the championship. Bit of understeer again at that same right-hander all race weekend, but still gaining time. 6/10 gain. We're down to P5. Crossed the line to improve by a decent margin, but others improved even more, so it's only going to be P4. Still pretty good. Second row. We share the second row with Mick Schumacher there, so that's where the car is then, and we're still actually a little bit off Schumacher, so not obviously as quick as him, absolutely. But look at that. Carlos Sainz, what a turnaround. This man was getting knocked out in Q1 and Q2 comfortably so many times this season, but here, Singapore, different story. The Red Bull car alive. He's on pole position for the first time in a long, long while. Leclerc, surprising to see him in second place considering where the Ferrari was and also where his teammate is, Giovinazzi. Russell, like I said, he's outqualified Latifi by a large margin, but down in P8 because the Alfa Romeo, Singapore, it's all more about the corners, and we know the Alfa is probably getting more time in the straight line. But for us, we've done pretty well to outqualify Lando at least, and also Ocon. 2/10 off Schumacher though, so a bit of time to maybe find, but the race pace hopefully once again will come through a little bit, but it is always chaotic. There's always a high chance of a safety car, so you just really can't tell how this is going to play out, and that's what makes it great. So let's go to the grid for the race.
Against the spectacular backdrop of the Singapore skyline, Formula One returns once again to do battle in what tends to become something of an endurance race, with the notorious sauna-like temperatures in the cockpit making for an extremely physically challenging Grand Prix. We're here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit today, located in the heart of Singapore. The circuit consists of 23 corners, 13 to the left and 10 to the right. It's a track that's incredibly technical, so don't expect to see the drivers taking too much at full throttle. With the Grand Prix nearly upon us, Anthony Davidson is by my side once again to offer his perspective. They must be starting to feel the pressure at this point, Ant, surely. There's a real shot at the title on the cards here, but one error at the wrong time, well, that could throw it all away.
Of course, there's never a good time to make mistakes, but it will feel 10 times worse if it happens at such a critical point of the season. Let's hope this contest is settled where it should be, on track, wheel to wheel.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Schumacher, the owner driver, Max Verstappen and Albon, Russell, Ocon, Giovinazzi and Lewis Hamilton, De Vries, Latifi, Jack Aitken and Norris, Giotto, Stroll, Valtteri Bottas and Kevin Magnussen, Kvyat, Joe, Matsushita and Pierre Gasly picks up the final grid slot today. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
So it's definitely going to be a very open Grand Prix, and a weird one to call, to be honest, because we've got people on different tyres. I actually forgot to mention it, but you may have noticed if you were watching carefully. Into Q3, Leclerc and Russell actually qualified on mediums in Q2, so they're allowed to start on those tyres. Leclerc, he's on the front row, and starting on the mediums here at Singapore opens you up for the one-stop, a very easy one-stop onto hards, whereas the rest of us have to do a two-stop because the tyre wear is so high on this first set of softs. So Leclerc from the front row on mediums, he's got a great chance for the outright win here, but Russell in P8, he could look to bounce back and jump all of us really well if we're not careful. So it's going to be a very fine game, and with a safety car probably, amongst the air, because the percentage is so high in real life, and that translates to the game as well. It's going to be a close one to call, but it's going to be a tough fight between myself, Schumacher, Lando and Ocon, and then you've just got Russell in the background doing a different strategy. How is he going to play out? And then also I'm curious to see how Sainz fares from pole and how strong that Red Bull's looking, and how that may help Lando, because you may have noticed on the grid sequence, he's got a 10th place penalty for engine changes. That's big as well. He's down in P14, so he is going to have a comeback drive and a half, and hope that pace his teammates shown to get on pole position is there for him in the race. And speaking of, let's get into the race then, as we go to 5 red lights here, under the floodlights for the Singapore Grand Prix from the second row of the grid. 4 lights are out, and we're underway, and it's a shaky start for Leclerc, a great one for the pole man, and a good one from Schumacher, a poor one for us really, as Verstappen is round the outside of us into turn one. We get pinched in, we're going to get the elbows out to try and solidify and get the 4th place back. Yellow flags behind, and there's a safety car within literally 2 corners, as Jack Aitken has had an issue at the back, a classic coming together at turn 1, I feel. So yes, safety car is out on lap number 1. and it's Sainz from Schumacher, Leclerc and myself. So Schumacher with a stonking effort into turn 1, got the traction round the outside of Leclerc, and now on the restart we're looking at the back of the Ferrari instead. Did well to actually fend off Verstappen, to be honest, because we had a really poor kind of launch really into turn 1. And whilst we've been under the safety car, my engineers actually told me that Schumacher has an issue, that classic kind of mechanical issue, that kind of temporary slows down the AI, and so Schumacher's got that, so he's going to be a bit slow maybe, and we're right up the gearbox of Leclerc. That actually hinders us rather than helps us, because I was so underneath his rear wing that I wasn't able to accelerate at the right point, because I would have hit the back of him then, so I got kind of caught a little bit unawares on the restart. Sainz with a good one, so he maintains first place. We're kind of all over the shop there with the rear end snapping, but yeah, Schumacher is going to be slow, and he's already, I mean, look at the distance Sainz has got to Schumacher already, and Schumacher comes in. He's early. That's a very early pit stop, but Leclerc's had a mare on the exit of the last corner. We're round the outside. What happened there? Leclerc had a horrendous entry into the last bend, and we're round the outside, and it's a fantastic little move up into P2. That's come out of nowhere. Leclerc got unsighted. I think he got caught up behind Schumacher coming into the pit lane, and then just went, for whatever reason, a bit too deep into this last bend, and so we had an absolute stonker of a racing line around the outside, and now we lead the Grand Prix. Lap number 7 is Sainz is in. Everyone who was on soft tyres is in. We're the last man standing, but I felt like we could go longer because of the safety car. The safety car was out straight away, so I felt like we could extend this stint by a lap or two, but clearly you can see already in the first sector of lap 7, the understeer kicked in. We have to go defensive against Leclerc, and remember, everyone behind us is on mediums. Leclerc, Russell, Hamilton, Giotto, all going for the one stop. We're in now for our first of 2 pit stops today, and that's if it doesn't rain. There is some rain forecast within this race, so that's going to make things very, very spicy at the end of this one, but yeah, I thought, you know, because the safety car was out straight away, that may have helped us extend the soft compound stint, but I was completely wrong. It's straight away on that opening lap of me being in the lead. The tyre and the understeer kicked in so horrendously to the point where I had to go defensive against Leclerc. So we've lost some time then to the others that did come in earlier. And remember, Schumacher did have the mechanical issue, and he's actually still ahead of us. So that's probably the time we've lost. We probably would have been ahead of him with how slow he is. And I think he's still a little bit slow, but we actually have more things to worry about because Verstappen is looking mighty, and he's switchbacked us. And Verstappen has absolutely done us on the inside there, the right-hander, the Mercedes flying through. Giovinazzi also in the mix. We have to go defensive against the Ferrari, and Gio goes round the outside. Our mediums are so cold compared to theirs, and so they're really right on us. Eventually, we're going to find the tyre heat up and the warm-up, and we're going to come back at Verstappen at a rate of knots. Oh, my word, so close to the wall with DRS open. Verstappen defensive, a little bit of a lock-up for us. Doesn't help us out. We're still going to be going at it, but we get it done. Oh, my God. We cut that fine. If we went any deeper into that right-hander, that definitely would have been a bit of contact with the wall and some damage maybe, so very close stuff. Giovinazzi and Ocon actually going to overtake Verstappen. Look at the top left, so the Merc gets swamped. Look at the minimap, he's so far behind, so the Merc loses pace dramatically here, and we're now catch up to Schumacher very quickly, and I think he's still got an issue, Mick, in the car, because I feel like he would have been past the Haas already at this point by now if he didn't have that issue, so we need to get past him. It's crucial, but he goes defensive to this next right-hander. We try and go and switch it like Verstappen, but we get caught up on the tyre side wall, and we're nearly in the wall, and now the Ferrari's overtaken. It's Ocon now is on the left, so we've gone from trying to make an overtake to getting overtaken by 2 cars as the McLaren goes through one of our championship rivals. Ocon on the left, we're on the inside, we get pinched in on the curb, and we're going to hop over the curb, and Ocon's going to get the smoother ride. So we've lost 2 positions now. We're down to P14, bit of understeer there in the left-hander as well. Verstappen's on the back of us. Norris is now the next car, so look at this. We've got 3-4 of us in the championship fight all together on the same on the same straight, really, so this is fantastic stuff. But we're all stuck behind the train of the Haas, and now this is the time to try and make some moves and come back at it very smoothly. We're going to try and cut through these guys like a hot knife through butter, round the outside of Ocon, on the outside of Giovinazzi then, so 2 places, and we're going to keep the momentum going as we're now behind Schumacher. This time get the right launch. DRS open, ERS going as well. Schumacher's going to go for the move. We're going to go to the left. It's going to be 3 wide round the outside of both cars there. And so that's 4 overtakes in the span of pretty much 1 sector. And we're going to get up into P9 as we just about finish the move off on Schumacher, as we're very wayward on the rear end. But that was so satisfying after being basically getting my pants pulled down and getting overtaken by the Ferrari and the McLaren earlier. Having made that move then so smoothly in one foul line, you know, around the outside of turn 1, outside of turn 3, then getting the kind of double overtake down on the Haas and Schumacher. That was really satisfying, and that was a bit more like it. So now we're finding our feet a little bit maybe in this Grand Prix, and I think apart from Sainz, we're the next car along highest on this 2-stop. Sainz is doing very well. He's much further ahead of us, and he's the lead man on the 2-stop. So now it's time for us to get our head down and try and catch the guys on the 1-stops, and we have to do that because they're not making a stop. They're only making 1 stop this afternoon, so we need to catch them up. And the man we're chasing down immediately in front of us is George Russell. So all the championship contenders are racing each other today on track, which you love to see. Hamilton out of nowhere on the inside there. Hamilton's also in the mix, you know. He's the lead McLaren on the 1-stop, so McLaren have split their strategies between Ocon and him, and Hamilton may be on the better one, you know, compared to Esteban Ocon. But here we go now, catching up to Russell. He's going to be a bit slow into turn 1. No DRS for him. We're around the outside on the better tyre compound as well. And at this point of the race, the tyre wear is not too bad on the medium, so we are the quicker car basically, but we have to do a bit of jockeying for position as Russell tried to send it back down the inside of me actually on that next left after turn 1. But we have got the move. We're up into P3, but you can see Sainz leads the way at the moment, and Giovinazzi's just hit the wall. He's understeered into the wall, and he's broken his left rear, and the full course safety cars out again for the 2nd time now. So 2 safety cars at the moment as the tally of Singapore. I was going to say Sainz in the lead 2 stoppers, then Leclerc, and then myself in P3. But under the safety car, Schumacher, Ocon, Lando, they're all in for a pit stop. But I think it's a bit too early. It's too early, and Sainz has thought that as well. The leader has agreed with me, so me and Sainz have stayed out because it's only, you know, lap, what was it, 14, 15, and there is some rain on the way. And I have a feeling maybe there's half a chance we could stretch this medium compound till the rain. Engineers told me the rain's coming in about, you know, 10-ish minutes time. We've got 1.5 minute lap time. You know, there's only going to be 5 laps, and we're there. And well and truly, I think the pit stop window is around, you know, you're looking like lap 18 to 20. So maybe you have a very good chance of just maintaining track position and going on to Inters straight away if that rain is going to truly come. I guess that's the gamble me and Sainz are taking, is we're kind of trusting that the rain is on the way. The others, they're just going for the free pit stop, which is fair play, but they're going to be in massive traffic outside of the points at this stage of the race. So we're now here on the restart, once again looking at the back of the Ferrari of Leclerc, this time on the left-hand side of him, so we can get a better jump on him on the restart. And can we make an overtake straight away? This is the best restart we've had now. Leclerc goes defensive, though. We just can't quite find the space on the outside. Russell gets his nose in. Did you see that? He tried to make a little cheeky move and get his elbows out there, but we just pinch him enough. But Russell doing a good job now and looking pretty good compared to qualifying in P4 there. But we get a bit of a tank slapper, so you can see the tyre wear is eking in a bit. But I'm just hoping that rain's on the way. My engineer said 10 minutes, so I've got to hope it's coming. The pit stop window's now opened, lap 19. We just need to stretch it just 2 more laps. If the rain just starts falling now, then that will be the perfect timing for myself and Carlos Sainz, really, as we've got the track position. Meanwhile, those guys, they're way back down the order, outside the top 10, but we've got a good run on Leclerc, you know, a little bit here. Purple first sector, always going a little bit quicker, and Leclerc a bit slow behind Sainz. Can we go for a move? Medium v hard. Clearly the medium tyre is still working better than the hard compound, and we're past Leclerc up into P2. We're on the right tyre. Bottas, though, out the Grand Prix, and the AlphaTauri straight into the wall, and the safety car is out again. I think it is. Is it? Is it full course safety car? Yes, it is. So we've got 3 safety cars here at Singapore. What did I say about chaos? And now Sainz is coming in for a pit stop under this safety car. I will join him because now it's a case of, right, we tried the gamble, but now we've been given a second chance to take a free pit stop. That free pit stop that Schumacher, Lando, Ocon all took last time out on the second safety car, we can now do on this one. Although the difference is they've already closed up, so they're going to overtake us. So now, in hindsight, we should have pit under the second safety car, but obviously, you can say that in hindsight, you have no way to call that there's going to be a third safety car so quick and close to that second one, so annoying, but look at that, we've jumped Sainz in the pit stop, so great work from the team there. We were so close to him on the rear end as we entered the pit lane. They had an absolute great one, and we've jumped him in the pit, so at least that's a positive thing. But now, well, I don't know, I mean, we're still going to have a good advantage, because remember, we're going to be on fresher mediums, and I think Schumacher, Lando and Ocon, they all pit onto hard compounder tyres, because that second safety car, as I said, was a bit early to come onto another set of mediums. So myself and Sainz, we're going to be the only guys out here on fresh mediums. So I think we have a good chance. We're aggressive enough to come back through a little bit, and then there's going to be the jeopardy of still that rain is on the way. So it's not ideal. We've definitely lost some positions here compared to what we may have got to, but that's how just the cookie crumbles. You've got to deal with what you get and how the race pans out. You couldn't have called that third safety car coming out so quickly, so we'll just do what we can do, basically, and just go flat out on these new mediums. Don't have to try and save tyre wear, because we know there will probably be a pit stop for the Inters eventually, unless the weather radar is completely lying to us. So here we are on to a third safety car restart, this time looking at the back of a familiar Haas here. Verstappen just ahead, Schumacher as well, and we get a great launch, and already I'm sensing maybe, even though we're a bit far back now, we've lost positions, we are on the fastest compound. We're going to be one of the quickest cars here, as we have a little bit of a dance and shimmy and shake around the outside of Verstappen with a bit of a lock-up, and the rain is already falling. You can see a few spits on the halo coming through on the black part there. It's difficult to see elsewhere, but the rain is already falling, and so that may even help us at this stage of the race. On mediums, we may be better in these damper conditions before it's fully time to switch on to Inters, as Norris struggles to get past Magnussen. We're going to use that to our advantage, as Schumacher was blocked in there. Oh, Mick actually hits us a little bit on the inside there as he gets a little bit too close for comfort, but we get past our teammate, and you can just kind of see visually I'm looking a bit snappier than everyone else. The same can be said for Sainz, I think, behind, as we have a little look at Lando on the outside. Doesn't quite work, but now into the hairpin. As the rain continues to fall, these fresh mediums are working so much better than the hard compounder tyres in these tricky conditions, and we go around the outside. We waltz round Norris like it's nothing, up into P7. So this is looking like a blinder of a decision to come on to fresh mediums when we did, really, because now we're pushing Magnussen through the corner to the point where we overtake him now through the left-hander. Literally physically pushed him through that one. Bit of understeer kicking in because we have to go down the inside there, but the rain is very much falling now at Singapore. Magnussen's getting swamped, but we're catching up to the cars at a rate of knots. To the inside of Kvyat now, one of the first two Alpine cars. The Alpines looking pretty good here, Mashusita and Kvyat, I must say, in the top six, but we're going to ruin the party a little bit and try and overtake both of them. Now getting on the back of Mashusita. Can we try and get him into maybe the next right-hander, you know? Easy does it. Try and thread the car through. Lock up on the right, but look at the grip difference. The mediums, they're just they're different breed, built different in these kind of conditions. And we go through up into P1, because I'm thinking at this point, I've got enough grip. Surely we can go on for one more lap. DRS enabled, but now it was a bit too much, a bit too overconfident, because the rain has fully now started to bucket it down, is the technical term. So we probably should have come in on that previous lap. I thought the grip was so good on the mediums we could carry on for one more lap, but we come in anyway now from first place. Where are we going to be then? And who's in the lead? I can't actually tell who's in the lead. I think it was maybe McLaren, but it's not Hamilton, because Hamilton's come in now. Sainz is coming now. So actually, to be fair, everyone on mediums and a lot of people behind me were thinking the same thing as me. Let's go on for one more lap because the grip is so good. But little did we know the rain was so hard. And what's gone on here? Where did we break our front wing? Why has my team changed my front wing? I don't even know where we got the damage. I didn't even see there was damage on the heads-up display. And so now Sainz has re-overtaken us in the pit lane, ironically, there. But I don't even know where the damage was. It must have been when we understeered somewhere and just nicked the wall. But I didn't even see where the damage was. There was no indication of it on the heads-up display. So we're down in P13 now, having made a very slow pit stop onto Inters. And now we've got it all to do once again. And there's only 6 laps to go in this race as well. And I must say, the grip levels are very, very minimal. Like, it's enough rain for inters, but it's not really enough rain for them to work well. So these inters are feeling very, very rough. We're understeering everywhere, going a bit too deep. Double lock up there, narrowly missing the wall, tapping it a little bit. This time I do check, there's no damage. And Russell on the dry compound, he's got into the wall. Why is he still on dries? Russell out there on medium tires, and Sainz and Kvyat had a mare. They've span, I've span. This is absolute pandemonia at Singapore. I wasn't lying to you when I said the grip levels were very, very sus here on the inters. These inters aren't even working properly. The virtual safety cars out, so it's not quite 4 safety cars, 3 safety cars in the virtual one, and we have to slow ourselves down to make sure we don't go speed under the virtual safety car. And we're up into P9 now as we overtook Sainz and the Alpine car. But George Russell, if you're thinking I made a bad decision staying out for one more lap on dries, he was still out there on mediums when he crashed there. So I don't know what he was doing, but now we've got clean air ahead of us. Not too many laps to go, but let's get our head down. We've got a quick car. Hopefully the grip comes to us as the rain continues to fall and we can catch the cars ahead. And a few of them, they should be cars we're able to overtake. And especially in clean air, we fly towards Giotto in the Williams car. We're going to make a big send dive bomb to the inside. And we just need to send it, really, because I need to try and limit the damage now, because we've got all my rivals, minus Russell, Schumacher, Norris, Ocon, all ahead of me on track right now. I think maybe one of them is even maybe leading the race. I don't know. But we go down the inside of Verstappen now, and you clearly see we've got the pace advantage. The car is working well now. Finally, there's a bit of grip, and we get through on the Mercedes car. We saw how much Verstappen was struggling for any kind of race pace earlier on when he got swamped by so many cars. But now we've got Leclerc, who has looked better, to be fair. He outqualified us, so this might be a bit of a more difficult overtake. But let's see on the straight with ERS on the inside. I was surprised he didn't go defensive, to be fair to him. The Ferrari man just kind of let us go through on the inside. But oh, he comes back at us. Leclerc comes back at us, and he dive bombs us to the point where we nearly put it in the wall. What is it with that corner? We've seen so many AI like re-dive bomb me at that corner and just go for it. But yeah, so it's Schumacher in P5, Norris P4, and I think on the minimap it looks like Ocon is either in P1 and P2, but Leclerc comes back at us at the hairpin and he re-overtakes us. The Ferrari's gone for it, so it's a really nice scrap with Leclerc actually in the wet, and we can't quite make a move to re-overtake him to the inside there, but the Ferrari's re-overtaken us. I was just caught napping basically in the hairpin, a bit too kind of overconfident at the pace, I guess, going into that corner. And so now we have to try and re-overtake the man in red on the outside, trying to find some space, but the traction not quite there. You can see the snaps of oversteer, but we make the dive to the inside like we did on Giotto in the Williams to get back up into P6. But yeah, it's Schumacher in P5, Norris P4, and then it looked like on the mini-map that Ocon was either in P1 or 2. It's in P2 because the man leading the Singapore Grand Prix on the last lap it's Nick de Vries in the AlphaTauri. His teammate Bottas crashed out the race spectacularly with low grip into a wall. But the Dutchman, the younger Dutchman, de Vries, he's in P1 in the AlphaTauri. Ocon's in P2. P3 is then the Alpine of Matsushita. Then you've got Norris and Schumacher. What a podium that is for de Vries and Matsushita. Ocon, obviously, he needs that for his championship. We've done well to recover up into P6 at least, to limit the points damage we're going to get today from being beaten by Schumacher, Norris and Ocon. And Russell, though, he's had a mare. I mean, he had a horrendous one at Italy, got caught up in traffic, and he did not need a race like this where he just has himself to blame and his team. Why was he out on mediums in that wet period still, where he crashed from the lead, basically? And so Nick de Vries wins the Singapore Grand Prix. What a mad race. What a mad race. And AlphaTauri has won at Singapore, and it's de Vries. Ocon second, and Alpine in third place. 3 safety cars, spins, overtakes, madness. This was a cracking race. Cracking one.
You can't fault the performance on the track today. A well-deserved victory. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
It's a heroic effort for any driver to race in conditions like these, and seeing them fight their way to the front was very special indeed. They were able to find all the grip, all the good lines, and had the confidence to get on the power to top it all off. That's what pushed them into first place here today.
And it's time now for the podium celebrations, and how well deserved is this one? This is a team all about giving talented young drivers an opportunity to race and to win. AlphaTauri are your winners here today.
There you have it. What a podium, what a podium. De Vries celebrating P1, and Mashasita, bigs up to him as well, the Alpine in third place. Really big result for him and that team as well. And Ocon bouncing back a little bit there with second place. He needs that for his sake in the championship. It's going to be interesting then. So P6, so we did limit the damage quite well, you know. We could, one place behind Schumacher, 2 behind Norris. Russell not scoring. So as we look onto the standings then, we still lead the way in the standings, which is great news. Still a good 7 points ahead of the next best. So we've only been, our lead has only been cut by 1 point because Russell was in P2 and he did not score any points. So although others scored more points than us today, the right people did not score enough points. So we still maintain our lead quite nicely actually, which is great news for us. Ocon though is back into the fight then firmly in P2. Norris third, Schumacher fourth, but it's quite close between those three. And we've got, still some really interesting races to go. Mexico is going to be a good one, obviously. This time last season, Japan and both Mexico and Japan were crazy races. So, and then you've got Sao Paulo as an all-star finale. So it's anyone's game still. And if the races are like that for the next 3, well, we've got an absolute treat in store. But that was a classic, crazy Singapore Grand Prix in the F1 game. I think you'll agree with me, guys. If you did enjoy it, smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.